This video shows how disparity was rated for the Gamebanana Cevo 2014 competition. Right. In past years, the rating process was kept a secret, so it's interesting to see what sort of things they look for. I'm somewhat surprised by how they rated them. The judge in this video is Cotton, who judges a map by running about it on his own for 15 minutes, chatting with another guy who is doing the same thing on another server. I appreciate that judging so many maps takes a long time, I really do, but I was expecting something a little more substantial than simply running about on an empty level, speculating about how it plays. If you're watching this, Cotton, allow me to rate how you rate my map.
Alright, fact, this map is gorgeous.
I am not finding it.
It's on Gamebanana, you have to actually download it.
Oh, okay.
Now this is interesting. It seems as though the judges used the Steam Workshop version of the maps, despite it being on the Gamebanana site. Since this was rated several days after the deadline, it means that you could have sneakily updated the Workshop version and had them play a superior map. That's something to remember for next time.
Why would someone use that over the Workshop?
Some people don't want to release unfinished products, but they knew they had to meet a deadline for the Gamebanana contest and the Cevo. This is sick.
Oh yeah, this is Gamebanana, that's right.
Their first impressions seem positive. Now on to how they rate the timings in the map.
2, 3, 4,
oh man.
5, 6, 7. 7's always cool. More like 6, I missed it.
He gets picked up on this later, but why would he count in his head when there's a timer at the top of the screen? He only counts one route to each bomb site for each team as well, before he even knows all of the paths that he can travel. Rating a site like this seems lazy and flawed. I'd give his timing process a 4 out of 10.
If these graves got cleaned up a little bit, this map would be so fucking sick.
I agree with the grave comment. Fortunately, the Inferno update included a cool gravestone which I replaced them with in a later version. I don't think it's fair that he's running it on low texture detail quality and then rating them on that.
I think the developer liked Skyrim.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Okay, these graves need to be polished. But clearly, I understand that people had to meet deadlines and some people just had to cut on some details.
Now is the time.
Anyway, so here he is still rating the timings of the map. He picks up on the fact that action happens very quickly, which was intentional.
9 to 10, that's a rush site. The action's gonna happen very fast on this map.
Overlay looks simple.
Yeah, it looks like a seaside.
Everything's going so well at this point. I don't mind being compared to the seaside map in this regard. However, his lack of knowledge of the level comes back to bite him in this last timing and awakens a grudge with this map.
8, 9, the fuck? Okay, so it's about 10. So both sites are about 7 seconds CTs, 10 seconds T, so there's no variation there, you can rush either. There's no judgment to be passed either way, that's just the way that the map works, I think.
Thank you. He concludes that the timings can't be used to judge the map, which I agree with.
So, yeah, you guys are right. I could use the timer on the top of the map, which is what I was doing earlier, but it makes no difference because contextually I'm counting the same in my head both ways. So if, in fact, that the spawn to bomb site timers are off in my head, I'm off the same way in my head, going both ways. It doesn't really matter.
But please use the timer in future.
Okay.
Oh gosh, I see the graves.
Yeah. How does the map look overall? Let's go with the aesthetics here. That wall is ripped from somewhere.
No, it's not. This bit's frustrating for me since I don't use custom models and props, so it's full of them running about going, oh, I know where this one's from.
Yep, there's a lot of overpass stuff showing up in maps now. There's a lot of overpass, actually, on this map.
I don't see how it affects the rating process at all if it's to be a competitive level, and a lot of props are used in more than one map.
Skyrim warm lighting is really cool, this rocky wall is actually really cool, and this is directly from Seaside. You see this? The rock wall at spawn.
For which spawn?
CT spawn. I feel like this is from Seaside or like Cobble.
Yes, it was in Seaside, along with many other maps. I used it in 4 locations in this map alone. I stick to brushes and displacements as much as possible, but I do like this rock prop since it makes it look more natural. Look, I even had it here. Amazing how easy it is to spot once you know where it is.
So in terms of aesthetics, it's kind of mismatched. You see old Nordic structures like this, and I don't know, they kind of have Nordic, but they have Christian crosses at the top.
These small flaws are interesting. To me, the cross is just additional detail, so saying it's wrong because the Nords didn't have crosses is an eye-opener for me. I mean, even the church I based it off had them. But saying that, I never intended to make the map's theme Nordic, I simply based the architecture off of those cultures. It's annoying when people use the culture as the basis for an argument about why my map is wrong, when it's an entirely fictional place that I've used a fair bit of artistic license to create. I almost feel like saying, it's my map, my rules.
But then you have, like, I don't know what the fuck, industrial backgrounds.
Yeah.
And a burned out house here.
It's as if they didn't bother reading the description. But everybody reads that, right?
I'm gonna give this a 8. Because I like some of it, and some of it clearly needs some touching up.
Of course, warehouses filled with crates would get a 10. Doing more only opens you up to more criticism.
Is the overlay and radar properly aligned? Let's go to a corner.
For the radar, I followed this awesome tutorial.
Looks good. Looks good. Yep. Yep.
That's good on my end.
Radar. 10 out of 10.
Yay! They didn't bother rating the quality of the radar picture, but Vex did a great job with that.
Models versus textures. Is everything clear and easily visible? Yeah, I think this is one of the most visible maps we've seen thus far.
This meant a lot to me. I was concerned throughout that I would add too much detail or the wrong lighting and that it would be rated down for reducing the visibility. This was one thing that Hatton rated Karenia down for in 2013's competition.
My only gripe with this map, which can be easily fixed, is the abundance of foliage that has been needlessly added. Some plants and vines actually obstruct player vision and ruin the gameplay. I think if it had been released without all the unnecessary eye candy, I'd have probably marked it up one to give it an 8 out of 10.
I don't...
It's got a lot of character too, like it stands out.
Yeah, and I don't think any player models are going to get lost on this texture. I wonder if the T model for the CT's defending is going to get lost on this rock texture. Check this out, I'm going to kill myself. No, we have a black head, green pants. I don't think we're going to get mixed up with that wall. Okay, I'm going to give that a 10 too.
8 for theme, 10 for radar, and 10 for visibility. It's going well so far.
Is realism involved in both structure and aesthetic? I have to say no.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You're in a little, like, old Hammett village with this, like, old wooden architecture, then you're next to new industrial steel mills and shit like that.
Like right next to it.
And
like
what is
the
this
Bombsite?
statue? Maybe I'm just, like, not exposed enough to the world. Maybe, like, this sort of thing exists somewhere in Eastern Europe or something. But I find it unlikely. You know what I mean? I find it really unlikely.
This is ass-clenchingly painful for me to watch, even
I'm gonna
now.
let that go for CS maps, but it's pushing it with the limit.
Especially since you're trying to convince me that there's this industrial complex and old 17th century village in the middle of these Alps. Like...
Yeah.
Well, okay, the old thing is that they want to build factories in the middle of a mountain range where there are lots of precious minerals underground. Once again, their assumptions about the theme make me look stupid for coming up with the idea in the first place.
I'm gonna give that a 3.
Moral of the story, stick to crates in a warehouse.
How well is the map optimized? I haven't lost a single frame. I give that a 10.
Yay, some more good news.
I agree with that.
Is there suitable balance between both sides? Time to do the fun part. Go to Bombsite B. From CT. Yeah, this angle looks... I have to think about the entry. So that's squeaky. Is it a squeaky? Yeah, it's a squeaky. And then there's this B ramp. Okay. Note that it's only like a 3-ish second difference between arrival time for the T's and CT's, so you're not going to get a whole lot of time to set up. The CT's at best are going to get to like here.
His friend now mentions the thing that I think hurt my map the most.
The little upper catwalk area thing that has the barrels and the big generator looking thing, I thought that was playable and it's not. It looks like you could boost up there real easy, but you can't.
I was pleased he tried so many grenades. My map is completely open, so there aren't any invisible barriers to limit where you can throw them.
Flashbang!
Flashable makes sense. Boostable? No. That's not good. Can a flashbang get lost in there?
No, it can't. Don't be silly.
Flashbang! Flashbang!
No, that's a solid. Anyway, that needs to get modeled
Why?
and textured.
Why? Hasn't he heard of no draw? There's no way that you can see that without no clip.
There seems to be nothing supporting this platform. Look at B. Like
Yeah,
this
that
huge
platform is the
smoke
one I was talking about.
chimney. There's nothing supporting this platform. It's just floating in open space.
That's what I was talking about too. It looks like you could get up there, but you can't. They just put one pillar at the corner and it'll not make 0 sense anymore, but it still looks like you should be able to get up there.
Okay. Hold on, but you definitely can get up here, right? maybe you need a boost.
No, you can't get up there. That's what I was talking about.
Oh, that pisses me off.
Now this really pisses me off. Yes, maybe I should have removed it if it really is such a large visual distraction, but it doesn't hinder gameplay, and once again, they seem to spend way too much time picking up on what is simply a superficial detail. It's like unboxing a toy and then criticising the casing.
Yeah, see, like I was sitting here like trying to figure out how to get up there and you can't. And it's like, that's so blatantly like, there's no point. Like, take it out. Like, it doesn't make sense if you're not going to have it like a playable thing, because it's like at head level. Like, you can't jump over that little lip without hitting
This
it.
is such a central figure to this map, too.
Really? It's a central figure to the map. How
Do
come?
that. Can you get it? Oh, wait.
Did you get up there?
No. If you go in Squeaky, there's a door leading to it, but it doesn't open. This map started so high, is reading so low.
It's harsh to downrate this map for something like that. Maybe it's because he hasn't played it that he thinks it's so important.
They got rid of all the crap up there and made the platform make sense and let that door be used. I think it'd actually work.
Yeah. That vertigo
the stairs
stovepipe thing, whatever that thing is kind of cool. If they left it in the center, you could kind of go like hide around it.
They're picturing what the map could be like rather than seeing the gameplay merits of the 2 entrance Bombsite. Remember that at an early stage I did have another central entrance and removed it from feedback I received from playtesting.
I'm not a fan of these stairs being brick.
Slopes are superior to stairs, bots
a
also
minor
prefer
thing.
them.
Yeah.
But I don't see what's wrong with stone stairs.
They tricked me with this cool ice at the beginning. Oh man.
This insulted me more than it should have. I don't think that I tried to fool anybody, and almost feel as though they're trying to label it as a bad map because of one petty gripe.
But we don't have months to judge this. So the little bridge I think is really cool. I think the aesthetic is cool. I think you can do cool things with flashbangs off of it.
I throw the
Make it
flashbang.
bounce up, turn it into an instant pop flash. I stared it down just so you guys could see it. It would detonate like right here in midair. I think that's so cool. Try it yourself, Jim. Give yourself a flashbang. Throw it off the.
Where are you?
At A. Throw it off the bump of the bridge. It'll pop flash right at the T-box.
Throw in the flashbang.
I'm pleased they like this bridge. It was actually Vex who made it curved for aesthetic reasons, and I liked it because it gave you a slight height advantage so that you could peep over the planks of wood that are otherwise exactly at head height. Just as they did with that bit at B, I think they get a little overexcited about what is such a small feature, but since it's positive, I guess I'll enjoy it.
I throw in the flashbang.
Sick pop flash.
Just ignore
Command
it.
for the
Give space weapon underscore name of weapon.
I wasn't sure if flashbang was considered a
Yes,
weapon.
yes, yes.
What is this? The Chinese lanterns?
Yeah, I
Alright,
see what you're saying. That is a good pop.
we're in Slavic, somewhere in the Alps, and we have Chinese lanterns.
Sorry map, appears you're not allowed theme lighting in a marketplace. All that work that went into the area and they focus on a tiny detail that doesn't even matter.
The map started so promising.
The graves with the crosses on it too. That was when you pointed that out.
Once again, a load of generic crates would have done better here by the looks of it. Is it any wonder why most maps are full of them?
House. This is somebody's house. Okay. This is a very depressing house. Okay, let's look at the gameplay. In the site, clear peak position, headshot.
Counting the points you have to check for seems like a strange way of rating a map. I guess it's the best you can hope for unless you've played some games on it.
Playing from here, maybe. For the T's, you have to assess the danger points. The T's are going to be coming from here. This is sort of a pick lane. And I guess you could be playing from the top of the logs. So, how many danger points? 1, 2, 3? I don't know if the CTs can get up there. 3.
What are your impressions about this? I mean, you're doing your thing now. Talk about mid whenever you get done with whatever you're doing. I have mixed opinions about it.
Okay, I'll go over there right now.
Looks like he can't find any weaknesses with A. On to mid.
This is mid. So mid is siphoned out, like, is kind of cut in two by this giant burned out house.
But you can get inside it too.
Yeah, you can get inside of it, which is cool. I like the idea of a mutually contested mid and, like, not a favored mid. So both the CTs and Ts can really, like, wreak havoc here.
I'm pleased they get the idea of mid. This is what I wanted from the central location in this map.
Oriented game map. Like, I don't know, it feels like you're, like, trying to entice the teams to like duke it out in mid whenever there's not really any.
I'm okay with
map
that
control.
mainly because in 3-lane maps, that's what you're kind of trying to do.
Yeah.
Control mid. As long as you're not forced to fight inside of that deathmatch house, because from CT ramp you can cover both connectors, and you don't have to go into the deathmatch house. The thing is, I think the T's are going to try to pick you like this.
I guess what the mid area like freaks me out because of all the crazy tiny little angle changes. Like I know it's supposed to be a burned down house, but like you have all kinds of little pixel peaks and stuff.
You know what? I agree with this as well. It wasn't ever much of a problem in playtesting, but as the versions progressed, I did remove more and more, just to simplify things.
Okay, so A balanced, B not balanced, mid not balanced.
What? Why is mid not balanced? Based on what exactly? You've only had good things to say about it.
Enzo dominates, that's the rules of the mapping contest. Part of this, what we're trying to accomplish, is also conform to Valve's judging standards when it comes to map acceptance for, let's say, like operations and map adaptation. So if we don't follow their standards, then whose standards do we follow? You know what I mean?
This is interesting, and I'd like to see Valve's guidelines on map acceptance. I'm not sure what relationship Cevo has with them.
So is there suitable balance between both sides? I'm gonna give just a 5. Not terrible, but nothing that stands out like this is a good balance.
Ouch. That's a kick in the teeth after a month of making and playtesting this map.
Rotation times for TTs with reason within bomb plants, definitely. We checked that out already. I'll give that a 9.
The rotation times are okay. I was almost expecting lower here for the map being too small compared with other maps.
How long does it take the T to rush both sites? About 13 seconds. Are there any routes or entry points in excess or overpowered? Probably that CT ramp at B.
What does that mean?
Mid, you said it, for T's might be overpowered given how many options they're given.
Yeah, a lot.
Right, so the other guy thinks the middle is too T-sided. Kind of like Dust 2s, or Nukes, or Infernos, or most other maps for that matter.
Mid on a 3-lane map, I think both teams can fight it out, so I'm going to give it a better score than I think you would. I'm just going to give it a 6.
Middle's only a 6 at best then. I am disappointed with that.
I'm taking into account that there's a Bombsite B that has a lot of problems, but there's a Bombsite A that's really cool. Like, Bombsite A is actually really well thought out. I'll show you guys again who are at home. This map has some good features to it, like this weird log thing, fighting under the bridge, fighting in the site itself, fighting behind this back pass thing. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. That under the bridge part actually would be really cool op lane too, because it actually extends really far.
If this map maker, I think one of my viewers actually just said it really well, LGM, I don't even fucking know. If this map maker had 2 months, polish everything up, make your own custom models, don't rip everything from Overpass and Seaside and Monastery, then I think this map is going places.
A little playtesting too, yeah.
Yeah, a little playtesting. Can smokes and flashbangs be used properly? Well, we found a cool pop flash. I know Bombsite B's ramp can be flashed properly. I think I can flash over everything. I definitely cannot flash over mid effectively. Even if I could, this would just be a mere like after image flash at mid, so give weapons, smoke grenade. Let's try this. Can I smoke A?
Smoke!
Wow. So I think I can. I gotta jump and hurl this fucker.
Smoke!
Yep. I can smoke whatever I want, pretty much. Let's try this at B.
Throw in smoke!
Yeah. I can smoke pretty much everything, so that's good. I'm gonna give that a 10.
The open sky box buys me some more points, though I still feel bitter that they think that B is full of problems and that middle is T-sided. I just wish I could force them to play some games on the map, but I know that won't happen.
This map is pretty simple. I don't think I need to spend a whole lot more time on this.
Looks as though they're moving on to the next map. At least they didn't find any proper problems.
Oh, whoa.
Okay, what?
Well, okay. There's a railing that you can just straight up walk through
Okay.
by T-spawn.
Whoops. I knew there was something somewhere.
Yeah. That doesn't really change. Does it change my score
No.
anyway? No.
No, yeah, I just saw it.
I agree. It doesn't alter gameplay and was patched by the time they found it on the workshop version
The
anyway.
next one is DE Nair.
Later on, the judging results were in and Disparity didn't make it to the final 10. It didn't even get an honourable mention. I am disappointed, and of course I think it should have done better, but every map was put under the same testing conditions, and I suppose it just wasn't what they were looking for. I'd like to thank them for testing the map and for providing feedback. It's very interesting to see how the judging process is done, even though I personally find it deeply flawed. I can see why Karenia made it to the top 10 last year. It didn't take any risks. It was a generic diffuse layout, while Sparity has far more quirks which at first glance can appear as weaknesses, but actually turn out to be its strongest features. The review process that the judges at Cevo have followed undermines my confidence in ever doing well in competitions, if the map has to be both new, original and fun to play, but at the same time still able to pass through the hoops that people like Cotton hold up, which make mapping more about imitating existing maps rather than experimenting with new and original formulas. Balancing a map is an art, not a by-the-numbers exercise of counting entrances and timings between locations. It is very interesting to see the things that they picked up on, and I feel they focused on small bits way too much while avoiding the things that really mattered. I'd say that the map would feel very different to them should they bother to try it out for a game or so. But you've still got to listen to Cotton, since he's ultimately the person who decides how well your map will do in the competition. Of course I'm going to take it personally when he seemingly goes out of his way to find criticisms, jumping between gameplay and aesthetics as he pleases to suit his argument. I have happily made many changes to this map based on feedback from others, and I appreciate suggestions, particularly when they're from players who have actually played the map in question. This will be covered in the final video of this series. But what I don't like is when somebody loads up a map that I've invested hundreds of hours into, and within 15 minutes is saying what needs to be done to improve it. This is before they know the map's layout or even where the spawn points are. I want everybody to be happy. That includes you, Cotton. I tweeted Cevo a while back but heard no response, so here I am again, asking if you'd like to test a newer version of Disparity. You'll be pleased to hear that the walkway is now solid, that there are fewer holes in the walls in mid, and finally, there's a third entrance to B. I'd like to clarify that this is not me admitting that you were right, but it was an interesting suggestion and I thought I should try it. It's very fun to play as terrorists, and I've heard that it makes it a bit too difficult for CTs to hold. I'll need some additional playtesting done on it to know. Oh, and since you can see it from the walkway which I have since added, I have textured that hole in the church roof. Incredible foresight on your behalf, or just a coincidence? I guess we'll never know. Let me know what you think.
Oh my god, that's terrifying. Help me, oh my god. Where are you, Ryan? When I need you. Asu with Nick.